What's up, peoples? Welcome back to SeeTheseCDs, where in each one of these videos I try and take a closer look at a select CD from my own personal collection and just try and take a closer look at its overall cover artwork, graphic design, and packaging for the CD. If you haven't already figured it out, today we're going to be speaking about Fort Minor's 2005 project, The Rising Tide, which clocks in at just under an hour and 51 minutes and 28 seconds. It was originally released under Machine Shop and Warner Bros., which I believe Machine Shop is actually Mike Shinoda's, like his label. If you weren't familiar, Fort Minor is composed of primarily Mike Shinoda being the leader of the group, also followed up by some members of Styles of Beyond, Ryu and Tak. They assist him with the majority of the rapping on this CD. There's also other collaboratives from Styles of Beyond. I think Styles of Beyond are a part of the whole Army of the Pharaohs crew. So we got features from Self-Titled on here, as well as Common. Not to say Common is affiliate with any of them or anything like that, but we got Common, Lupe Fiasco. We got some pretty solid features. We got Han and DJ Cheap Shot also doing some of the scratches on several of the songs as well. So it was a pretty dope project. This was one of the CDs, I definitely got into around the same time I was listening to that B album that I spoke about earlier in the week, with Common. I listened to this CD as well as their mixtape, which I can't remember. It might have been no, it wasn't the Greenhouse Effect. That was a Asher Ross mixtape. But yeah, they had a dope mixtape. I think it was We Major or something like that. And that mixtape was fire. I really like Fort Minor. I'm a big fan of Mike Shinoda as well. I like Linkin Park. I think they're dope. But I think a key factor, which I can't even say I think I know a key factor of Linkin Park and why they're so dope, is Mike Shinoda. And I guess I should say rest in peace, Chester Bennington. What a friggin' voice that dude has. Definitely one of the more rock-oriented voices that I got into in my when I was younger. Like I said, one of the first rock-oriented voices I got into, and I grew appreciation for just what he could do vocally. It was pretty crazy. It was sad to hear about him passing, but yeah. So we're just gonna talk about the artwork. Take a closer look like we usually do. So the cover art is designed by Mike Shinoda. If you didn't already know, Mike Shinoda did a lot of the artwork for this project. He's also a great graphic designer or just visual artist. He makes collages and I don't want to just simplify it and just say he draws, but yeah, he's got a very skilled hand when it comes to putting things together and just drawing things like this. It's credited to Mike Shinoda. He did go to Frank Maddocks, which he worked on several treatments for the album. Previous to this, and then eventually Mike Shinoda, I guess he just came to to understand that he was gonna handle it himself. But there is artwork in this this project that is from Frank Maddocks, which if you don't remember, he also has credits on the Currency CD, Stoned Immaculate, which we did also mention he works a lot with Linkin Park. On the majority of their projects, I think all their CDs he's featured in their credits. So it makes sense that Mike would go to somebody he's so accustomed to. As far as the additional artwork and logo design, that was credited to Jackson Chandler, which was a little bit difficult finding much on this artist. I did see other projects that he had credits on. I wasn't really too familiar with any of the artists or their actual projects. As far as the CDs go, but for some of his more recent work, is Live at the Treehouse by Joe Firstman. There was also In the Ether by David Winogrand, and there's Riding Dirty by Big Jugs. So if you know a little bit more about these artists, these projects, whatever you want to just let us know. Go ahead and comment below. If you want to just tell us something interesting, just whatever. If you know more about Jackson Chandler, that'd be cool too. But yeah, he had a decent resume. He's been pretty active, I want to say, since the early 2000s. I think around 2004 or so. And I wanted to say his last work, it may have been 4 or 5 years ago. So maybe he's stepped away from music or graphic design for music. He could be doing other things. But yeah, if you want to, like I said, if you want to let us know more about that, go ahead and comment below. That'd be appreciated. And then for photography, Greg Waterman also has credits. which he's also worked on other Linkin Park projects, as far as like one of which being live at Texas, live CD. He has like credits on there as well. Also, the Jay-Z collaboration with the Linkin Park course. What was it like? Collision Course. That's right. And he's also worked with like other artists as well. I'm not too familiar with, but I have some knowledge of. He's worked with Serge Tankian for the Elect the Dead CD. He's worked with him for their Digital Versatile Doom, as well as like Pitbull on his Global Warming CD. So yeah, that's about all the artists for this the CD itself. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the actual the visuals and the cover itself. All right, so just off rip, taking a look at the actual cover itself. Like I said, this was majority designed by Mike Shinoda. I'm assuming when they refer to like label design, when we were referencing like Jackson Chandler earlier, it could have been like this FM logo right here. They're referring to, but I want to say that there's like other logos for Minor throughout the project as well. So it could be others. But if we just want to take a look at it, it's kind of interesting. I've never really seen like artwork like this. When I see things like this, to be honest, it's a little bit reminiscent of like I don't know, like Invader Zim mixed with like kind of like a Gorillaz art style. But I don't really know where Mike Shinoda would have come up with this, to be honest. Like I don't know where this comes from, like in the deep recesses of his mind or what have you. I'm not like I don't like draw or anything like that. I consider myself a pretty creative individual. But yeah, this is just I don't know. Like I don't understand. Like I'm assuming he probably would have just started, drawing one of these things wherever he began, and then he probably just continued as he was going along. But also, it's just the colors are very interesting as well. I don't know what could I say. I mean, I guess it kind of pans back and forth from like like a gray, a blue, almost like an aqua or like a teal color, kind of like a very like pale or a pastel palette is what they're pulling from. But then when we get into the reds, it's like darker hues, almost looks like like a blood color. It's over like I guess what would seem to be like, I don't know if that's just like a very light gray background. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's what I'm getting into. Like, I don't even know where Mike Shinoda would have began. It's just a lot to take in, in a sense. Like when you really start breaking it down, I mean, when you just look at it, it just looks like, a cover to a CD or just like, a picture. But, yeah, like I said, like when you start really breaking it down and trying to like, I guess like reverse engineer to try to see, where he, came from, began. Yes, it's a little bit difficult. And Mike Shinoda tends to, he bounces back and forth from like, I think like freehand things, but then, he's not afraid to, use like digital mediums. Like some of his artwork is like, some of his artwork does consist of like collages, where he's actually just printing digital images and then putting them together as he sees fit. But yes, if we just want to flip around to the back, I mean I can get into the basics. We just have this image on the left hand side, which takes up the majority of the CD cover itself. Then more centered on the right hand side, we have Fort Minor, which is the actual title of the group, and then we have the title of the CD right below that in like what would seem like to be like red graffiti or like paint marker. The Rising Tide, as well as the Fort Minor logo, like we mentioned earlier, right above the OR in minor. And then we just have the parental advisory sticker tucked away in the lower right hand corner as well, right there. If we want to flip around back, once again, see, I would assume, yeah, so that's gotta be a picture of Mike Shinoda. That's what I would assume. But it stays with that aesthetic where we kind of have like, you see like the different colors blended, or even like smudged all around the image. Even Mike's image, it looks like a painting. I'm assuming it was done like Photoshop. They probably put some layers over it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely like layers to this picture as far as like me being able to see like, all right, so there's the photo with Mike and then whatever layer, this like, these like, it looks like a grid pattern almost is placed over it, as well as like, there's like, this kind of like painting thing right here and other like paint smudges around it. So I mean, I'm sure there was like several layers as far as like when he puts together the image itself. But yeah, like I was saying, it's just a lot to like take in when you're really trying to break it down. If you're just looking at it, you're just like, oh, it's just like a cool picture, But like breaking it down in my mind, I'm like, man, I don't even know where to begin. But yeah, continuing with the aesthetic, the tracks are listed in black and gray, with the features being like that like blood red, like we were talking about before. It's like that darker hue, almost like a crimson color, and that's on the right hand side. Below that, we just have executive producing credits, as well as whoever mixed the project, as well as typical text for legality at the bottom in regards to like the label, FBI warnings, the barcode, things of that nature, all listed right there. Get a decent shot. Yeah, then there's that picture of Mike, which is pretty cool. Actually, this is the first time I've really noticed that picture of Mike Shinoda on the back. But that's a pretty decent picture. And then we have on the side, or on the binding, we have the group name once again, as well as the title of the CD in the very center, similar to the typography from the front. Then we have Machine Shop and Warner Bros. The two labels who put it out at the end of the binding itself. This is like a paper fold up, like CD case, as we've seen in other CDs as well. It's a nice change up. I definitely would expect something like this from Mike Shinoda around this era, because like I said in past videos, it just allows the artist to take their visual artwork a little bit further, or it just allows them to include more in the CD as far as like interaction goes with the fan. So we just want to open that up. It's a 3-fold. So we have the center image, and then the two folders on the side. Those are all right. So I was gonna say that those are actually some lyrics, but I don't believe that's true. I think once again, this is like the track titles listed, and it seemed to be like paint marker or Sharpie. I'm assuming it's just Mike Shinoda's like handwriting, or it could have been one of the other artists that were credited on this CD. And then we continue with the whole I guess like the graphic design choice that we saw more on like the front cover, where we have like this. There's like these skulls, but then also like these deconstructed like animals, it would seem, that are worked in to the pictures as well. Like we have the skull on the left-hand side, which comes before the track listing. Now if we go more to the center, we have this bear character, which this bear character really does remind me of like a Gorillaz character. Or it seems like it'd be straight out of one of like their animated videos or something like that. But we have like fish around the bear looking at the bear. I want to say the bear lost his arm, but it could be these squares around it. Maybe it became deconstructed. I'm not really sure the exact, vision that Mike had behind this, but it's all pretty dope. I don't really have any complaints about it. It's just, like I said, I can't really wrap my head around where Mike Shinoda was coming from when he decided to make this art in relation to Fort Minor, the actual project. It is different. So I think it does fit with like the CD. I never thought that it didn't fit. It's just a little bit. I'd say it's definitely a bit polarizing, because I just don't really know where it comes from. The CD is, as far as the music goes, it's dope. It's a great body of work. Really enjoyed it. It is like kind of like different rap music. It's a little alternative, but it's hard hitting. I really appreciate that. Overall, I just liked what Mike did. I liked his his music with like Linkin Park. I'm just a fan of the artist himself. Then we have another picture of Mike Shinoda on the right panel right there. More layers placed over him. Each one of these panels all continue with the aesthetic of the overall CD. Like I was saying, with like kind of like those pale pastel colors. Then we just have like the deep red, the dark and deep red, on each one of the panels as well. On the left fold, we actually have the booklet, and then on the right we have the CD. So I'll go ahead and take the CD out so we can take a look at the front. All right, so the actual cover of the CD it's pretty dope. I was gonna say it does fit with the rest of the aesthetic for the CD, but this is one of those where like you take a look at the CD or the actual cover to it, and you're like, wow, it's a whole separate design from everything else. He could have easily just like taken from one of these panels, or even like the cover, and just like re-imaged it over the actual CD. But I do think I appreciate it when like I actually look at the cover of the CD itself, and it's a different artwork. It just kind of like brings a different element or just an extra layer of like effort, I would say. But yeah, on each one of the sides, left and right, we have the tracks listed once again, with the Fort Minor logo at the bottom of the CD. And then at the very top, once again, the group name Fort Minor is listed, as well as in that same typography from before. It looks like like a Sharpie or a paint marker. The rising tide is written above. The background image, it's a little bit faded up toward the upper right hand side, which I'm assuming is done purposely, of course. I'm not really sure what this image is. Once again, all these images I've never really seen before. It's definitely a first time thing for me with a lot of these images. But I do I appreciate it. It's just like I said, I don't really have like a background as far as where these are coming from. And then if you want to just take look at the back of the CD like we usually do, it's pretty typical. Go ahead and set that down so we can take a look at the booklet. The booklet continues with the aesthetic, but once again, imagery is different. This is the same image that's on the front of the CD. If you want to get another look at that, it's just blown up on the actual CD itself. And then we have fists rising in the air at the bottom of this cover to the booklet. So yeah, I definitely think the the whole fist rising in the air at the bottom of the booklet, as we can see, it definitely fits with the title of the CD. The whole idea of the rising tide is kind of like a different understanding or interpretation of what Mike Shinoda may have meant. I definitely obviously I believe the rising tide is double entendre or triple, quadruple entendre, whatever. Because I mean it could stand for the people within the group itself, they're rising up, they're about to be on top. Or just in the forefront of whatever scene that they're trying to get to, but it could also with the whole fist raising up, it kind of stand for revolution, concept, idea, so on and so forth. I thought that was it's pretty dope as far as just tied it in, just fitting into the actual theme of the project itself. But yeah, if we open up the the booklet of the CD, the first page, we just have the tracks listed with their credits. And then we have we have all the lyrics listed underneath the track credits as well. It's this collage work that continues from one page to the next, where we have similar artwork from that we've seen throughout the actual packaging and the booklet, but it then transitions into what would appear to be I'm assuming it's probably Mike Shinoda's hand. It seems like he's mixing or working on music, so it's kind of a blend of his artwork from the visual side to the music side, panning from the left to the right hand side. Pretty interesting. If we want to go on to the next page, continues with that that similar same artwork I was describing before, kind of we saw right here. We can see on the back there's that bear we were talking about before. Now it appears to be some type of robot, but yeah, and I guess this confirms what I was talking about before. We have that handprint in the center of the robot's chest, and it's the same color that we've seen, that bloody crimson red that we've seen throughout the project, with different smudges and smears here and there, as well as being used for the logo. Left hand side, we have a continuation of the track titles, credits, and then their lyrics. Each one of the rappers, the lyrics and credits, titles all listed in black, which looks good over this pastel or pale backdrop. Very a light gray color with sketches around it. This on the top right hand corner of the right page would seem we have it seems it's early sketches of this robot, or maybe sketches that inspired this robot. Maybe that Mike was working on while he was drafting for the project, or the visuals for the project. Then once again on this next page we have a continuation of a blend between Mike Shinoda's artwork and visuals, pictures of the actual group and them working on the music recording. Right here we have Tak, which like I was saying, he's one of the members of Styles Beyond. He's the third of Fort Minor, and on this project he's featured third of the tracks. We have Tak in the center. Also, that's Ryu in the center. Excuse me. That's Tak's partner. And also he's responsible for another third of the rapping on this CD. And then we have which appear to be a monitor, but I think that's Yeah, I think, yeah, it's just for like mixing, but it kind of looks like one of those hospital monitors that they use for like hearts, to like measure like the heart rate or just monitor the heart rate rather. And then we have Mike Shinoda once again in front of the microphone. The last CD working into this collage. Then on the right hand side we have a continuation of the tracks. Continue to be listed. With the credits, lyrics, going down the page. Try to get a decent shot of that. This video is definitely going to be on the longer side, which is one of my favorite projects, but I've been trying to kind of make it more concise. It's just I start talking about these CDs and the video is going to be like 20 minutes later. But yeah, so if we want to go on to the next page, this is definitely one of the more cleaner pages, I would say. It still continues with that overall like collage style. We have the smudging and the smudging and like the paint all around. We have a pretty interesting like image. It almost looks like that famous artwork where the guy, it's like that guy, he's like screaming. It might be like, that might be I don't know if that's a Picasso. I don't think it is. I think, or is it a Van Gogh? No, it's not Van Gogh. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys are familiar. If you know what piece of artwork I'm talking about, go ahead and comment below. But yeah, it reminds me of that like screaming, piece of art. It's very famous with the dude. He's got his hands on his face, and he's kind of like a yellow color, and he's mouth wide open, stuff like that. Kind of like that Home Alone face. Macaulay Culkin slaps his hand on his face. But yeah, that's just what it reminded me of. It's an interesting concept art. Definitely fits with like that bear and the robot and all the other like illustrations we've seen throughout this project. And then on the left page, continuation of the tracks listed over the background. Once again, something else to pay attention to is a lot of like that red, crimson, bloody smear like I was talking about before. I kind of wonder like why Mike incorporated so much into the CD. It fits. I guess it fits with like the grittiness of the music. The only song I can really see it fitting with, as far as like subject matter, is probably be like Kenji. But like I said, the whole project is pretty gritty in general. So I mean, I understand to an extent why he incorporated that part of the aesthetic so much. I would say this page. In comparison to the rest, is very different from the previous pages we've seen. I think the pages we're going to see, going forward in this booklet, it's kind of like, it just looks like some monitor speakers in the background. I don't know if there's like a red tint, so I don't know if it's like the lighting in the room is red, like the bulb, or if this was just done in like post-production, they just like, tinted it, put a layer over it. But yeah, unlike the other pages, the track listings, lyrics, and the credits are listed in white. You see those right there. I get decent shots, and I'm sure it was just done in white to offset the the red in the background. It's like a darker background image. So then we go right back to the aesthetic we've been accustomed to on this page. Once again, more sketches similar to the robot and the bear that we saw in like the fish and the skulls we've seen from like the cover, things like that on the left hand side. And it blends to like an actual picture where it would seem Mike is probably scratching his head over like some mixes in the center there, and then transitions back into like the actual illustrations, artwork. So yeah, I mean that I think it's pretty dope the way they blended the pictures into the artwork. It's kind of like a seamless transition page to page. It just seems like one cohesive like image, though you are able to of course like distinguish between like the actual illustrations and photography. But yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that. Then we have this picture, which as soon as I seen the picture, I was like, oh, this has to be in relation to Kenji, but it no doubt is. So yeah, the whole it's like one picture spanning from the left to the right page, and we were able to see that in the back, but it's just a layer. So then we have like once again we have a similar aesthetic that was placed over this image, and the similar aesthetic from the rest of the booklet as far as like the smudges of the paint and like the bloody like crimson red, and then we have like the tracks listed in black as we see in previous pictures. But yeah, I would assume this is like a picture like Mike Shinoda's father from the time where he's describing in Kenji. If you're not familiar, it's about like the internment camps and overall like how Japanese people were treated. I want to say around World War II, or toward the end of like World War II, in America. And then the next page, it's pretty similar to the aesthetic we've seen throughout the rest of the CD. Instead, we do have like the image or the actual like photo blended with the illustrations at the bottom this time. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I guess it's like just different tracks, or like, I don't know if those are, yeah, but some of those are just different track names, or they're people who are actually working in the booth, and that, that's what they're labeled for. With at the very top, we have like that, that pale, light gray background with, some smudges or like running paint, going down from the top to bottom, like dripping down like, graffiti, or I guess like blood dripping maybe. Then the tracks listed, once again in black, over each one of these pages. I'll get a decent shot right there. And yeah, the last page, similar to majority of CDs, we just have Fort Miners and Mike Shinoda's like thank yous on each page. It's a little bit difficult to read or see because this background is a little bit darker, and there's a lot more like it seems to be like black, like scratches, as if somebody was like crossing out some stuff they wrote on each page. I'll try and get a decent shot of each side. Then we have the Fort Minor logo, Lincoln Park logo. I don't know if that's Styles of Beyond logo, potentially. Several different logos at the top right there. More of the skull illustrations we saw from the front of the cover. Fort Minor, graffiti tag right there in the lower left-hand page corner. And, all the ways you can contact them and look more into their work right there as far as the internet goes. And the back cover is... I'm not really sure what this is. It seems like another collage work, but it gives you like all the credits for like everybody who was involved with working on the CD, the visuals, everything. So yeah, I mean that was Mike Shinoda's Rising Tide, more specifically Fort Miners' The Rising Tide. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, I really enjoyed this project. I'm a big fan of Mike Shinoda and Fort Minor in general. I listen to their music a lot. Not as much because, obviously they haven't really, they went on an indefinite hiatus. But yeah, I appreciate the work. So yeah, this has been See These CDs. Thanks for checking out the video. Continue to check out all the other videos. Like, comment, subscribe. Any way you can engage, that'd be perfect. I'd really appreciate it. So yeah, this has been See These CDs. Thanks for checking out the video. All right, people. Peace. I'm out. Put the CD away for another day.